Come on.
This is Outside the Round with Matt Burrill, a Raise Rowdy podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Outside the Round. It's your boy, Matt Burrill, and today we've got a very special episode. So as you guys may have seen, we launched a brand new podcast in the Raise Rowdy Podcast Network. This week, we have got Behind the Music Biz with our longtime, forever Raise Rowdy intern, a kid that's rising in the music business. We got our boy, Mr. Peyton Heben. Peyton is going to be co-hosting today's episode with me. And I've got one of my favorite guys in town because we come from the same part of the country. We understand bagels. We understand Taylor ham. We understand pizza. We pull hard for teams like the Yankees, the Rangers, all the New York stuff. He's a guy that spent years on the road, is now in town managing, and just crushing it, and has a great story to tell. And we're going to be talking a lot of music business stuff, life stuff with him. We've got our boy, Mr. Jim Prisco. Jim, how the hell you doing, my man?
Doing good, man. Real good. Just hanging out. Just got back from Salt Lake.
What were you doing out there?
A big convention for like fairs and festivals.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so one of the guys from the Neil Agency, Brian Carruthers. And,
Oh, dude, love Brian.
yeah, he's like one of the best people on the planet, like for real. So him and I took Ella out there, and we did a little showcase at Dave & Buster's. It was pretty cool. And then we just walked around and hung out with a bunch of folks.
Dude, that is so cool to do a showcase at Dave & Buster's. Like, I grew up doing that shit at the Palisades Mall in West Nyack, New York. I spent a lot of time at the Dave & Buster's.
I know that spot.
Yeah, dude. So that's cool to be out there for. And you talk about Ella Langley right now. And we'll get into kind of your history, how you got started with everything. But right now, two artists you're working with Workhorse. That's freaking awesome. Ella Langley and Wyatt McCubbin, two longtime members of the Raise Rowdy family. And it's so cool to see Ella doing what she's doing, especially because she's like my little sister, bro.
Yeah, the main thing for us is, finding these folks that are genuine and real people. And I think that's where it really starts. And Ella's the most genuine, good person that you can ever find on the planet. So, working with her was absolutely a layup of an idea. And then Wyatt, I met him back in beginning of 2021, I guess. And we just hit it off real well, became good buddies. So it only made sense. So.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, Peyton, you kind of want to show what you do on the Music Business Podcast and Behind the Music Biz, and ask Mr. Jim about his story?
Yeah, so, I kind of curious how you got started from, like, your background of your childhood and what kind of got you interested in music.
All right. Well, so I grew up on Long Island, New York.
Shout out.
Yeah. And, I was going to school for art education. That was the thing that I was really passionate about. Some things kind of changed on how that was going to work out in college, and decided to, take a step back. I got into a really weird car accident, and I was pretty much bedridden for a little while. And this is probably, I guess, like 2000 into 2001. And, internet was kind of like a new thing, which is kind of weird to think about. Like, that's 23 years ago. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm old as shit. Did I say shit, fuck?
Yes. Oh, you say right. Shit, fuck, cock, balls, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Good.
So, long story short on that, I just started working with like little bands out of Long Island, and I played back in the late 90s in like really terrible like hardcore bands, rock bands. Like, we were awful, like the worst. And I was like, well, there's got to be a better way of staying in this industry than playing in these like crappy bars, and it just didn't work out for like at least my path. It wasn't going to be that way. So I ended up getting into that car accident, and I answered like some like little website ad on Vagrant Records, which to me was like the holy grail record label back then. Like, growing up in the punk scene, that was like the holy grail. And I remember I get this phone call from an LA number. I'm like, oh, this is like a prank or whatever. And it's this guy, Wayne Pagini. Wayne calls, and he's like, hey man, my name's Wayne Pagini. I'm from LA, and I work for Vagrant Records. I was like, fuck you. And I hung up on him. I thought for sure that was like BS. Like, there's no way like some record label dude from like the Holy Grail is going to call me up. And he called me right back, and he's like, nobody ever hangs up on me. I was like, all right. And he's like, this is for real. Like, if we're going to do this thing, like, what we're going to do is we're starting a street team. And I know that you've been working around with like some of the artists that are out there, and we would like to try and expand this thing. And it's a little bit more than just a street team. I was like, all right, well, what does that look like? He's like, well, you're basically would be the New York rep for Vagrant Records. I was like, okay, so we're like servicing like sales and POS and like remember I don't know if you guys remember this, but Best Buy used to have like ads like circulars every week.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It'd be like $9.99 like Alkaline Trio new record. So I had to make sure that the locals were taking care of that, local record label, record shops, like all that stuff. Like that was me.
Yeah. Wow.
So so I worked with this like prior to that I was working a little bit with this newer artist that got signed to Warner called Glassjaw. And they asked me to do some street team stuff, and that was like the ignition for me. Like once I knew that I liked that stuff, like that's when I tried to apply for this Vagrant thing, got that, and it expanded from Long Island to New York into Manhattan, and then I started servicing upstate New York a little bit, like probably where you're from.
Yep.
And,
Rockland County, Palisades Mall. We had a Best Buy.
yeah, dude, so that's Palisades. Like I've been up there all the way up to like Albany. It was
Wow.
like, basically, like that was my footprint, and then
Yeah.
I got to meet some folks in like northern Jersey, and then we all meshed. And this is about the time like when all these hardcore and like what people call like emo bands were picking up, like I don't know, like Alkaline Trio, Get Up Kids, and I don't know, Under Oath. Like those bands were all coming through.
Under Oath was huge in the Northeast, bro.
Yeah, like and yeah, that's the thing is like that was the culture that we fell into, and I was there for till about like 2006, and I moved out of New York to San Diego and just kind of started new. You know, after 9/11, all that stuff, it was really a weird time in New York for me.
Yeah.
And we had some family stuff going on with my mom being sick. So I was like, well, I'm going to take some time to kind of like rebrand myself and what I'm trying to do and just kind of expanded from there.
Yeah, dude. San Diego, hell of a place to live. That's the only place in California that I've been is San Diego, and it lives up to the hype, especially back then.
Dude, that place
Beautiful.
rips.
I heard it's the best place in California. If you're gonna go anywhere in California, it's San Diego.
Go to La Jolla Beach, go to the Gaslight District. It's just the best street tacos you'll ever have.
I'm telling you, man. Like, so I lived in North Park, which is like, I guess what you would call like the East Nashville of San Diego. So I had like my local bar I'd go to all the time called Livewire, and that was on El Cajon Boulevard. Get hammered there and then walk 2 blocks over to this place, a little Mexican spot called Kalima's, and just crush bean burritos all the time.
Oh, yes.
I miss it so much. So damn expensive.
Sounds brutal.
Dude, no, it's awesome.
Yeah, street team stuff's cool. It's cool to hear you had that background because I was a street teamer, but for a radio station.
Damn.
And it was at the end of before radio really started downsizing. So I was the Joe Schmo at the local 5K in Central Jersey, which by the way, Central New Jersey does exist. North and South Jersey deny its existence, but it does exist. Yeah. And I would set up and be under the tent and like telling people. So is it like that for music where you're the man on the street and you're just letting people know about music that they're paying you to tell them about kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, I mean, it was like as simple as just going to other shows and just papering everybody on the line. So it'd be like, here's flyers for shows that are coming up. Here's new records that are be dropped, like some Easter eggs and stickers and like all kinds of stuff like that. Like, because back then marketing was a lot different too. It was like guerrilla marketing was crazy, like on the streets. So like we were doing stuff in like Asbury Park.
Oh yeah.
So there was this like festival called Skate and Surf, and it turned into Bamboozle.
Oh yeah, Bamboozle.
You remember that?
Fantastic. Yes,
Yeah,
great
dude.
festival.
It was awesome. So we had a lot of bands out there, and we were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I got crazy stories about that stuff. Like we would have street teams like set up. I don't know if I should. Whatever, it doesn't matter. This is old. So we would have these like big posters that were like 20 feet tall, and we would send them all the way up the telephone poles. And so you looked for like a mile down the Broadwalk, and it was just like Alkaline Trio coming out soon, and then go into all the hotels there and put like door hangers that we created. So it was like really weird marketing stuff. So I learned a lot of outside the box stuff from them. And in that transition from going from New York to San Diego, I was on Warped Tour for a couple years, doing some stuff with Vagrant. I met a bunch of bands on there, and there was this band out of St. Louis that I met. Where were we? I think we were like Virginia Beach, and there was a hurricane coming, which is like the normal Warped Tour thing, and we had like freaking the book. Like you had to look at where the hell you were going. You didn't have GPS back then. You're just like, oh shit. So these 2 guys came out. It was Britton and I think Charlie and this guy Adam, which is now DJ Adam. Adam.
Oh, Adam.
You know
Yeah. Oh, I know Adam. Yeah.
He was in a punk band back then.
No
dude.
shit. I mean, you look at him, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a guy that was in the punk scene
He's that
back in
guy.
the day. Yeah.
So they're like, "Hey man, are you going to Warped Tour?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're driving over there right now." They're like, "Oh, we're lost. We can't figure out where to go." So we ended up going there. I'll tell you this because it leads to something. So we get to Virginia Beach, hurricane cleared out, do the show, and I became really close with those guys, and I ended up like pseudo tour managing them and doing their merch and some of that like guerrilla marketing stuff. Went from there to to trying to do stuff like online, like we were doing with Vagrant, but on like a bigger scale. So we were following like Good Charlotte, Green Day.
Wow.
So, you know, I don't think that was completely legal to do that stuff, but it was also kind of funny because we were walking around with like headphones and CD players, like, hey, listen to this song. Like, I know that you're gonna love it. So we did the Good Charlotte thing. We ended up on Green Day. It was funny because, you know, our friend of ours, Tom, this guy Tom, God bless him. I think he's passed by now, but we were out there, you know, selling CDs and we were trying to like sell, and we got in trouble for it. And Trey Cool comes out with his security guard on a golf cart. And
Oh shit!
I was like, oh god! And then Tom comes out. He's like, what are you guys doing? He's like, oh my god, it's you guys. I'm like, Tom, what's up, man? Because we knew him from Warped Tour. He's like the merch guy for that. So anyway, long story short, you know, he's like, all right, what are you guys doing? We're doing this. And he's like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, well, I can tell you where all the bootleg is happening. He's like, what do you mean bootleggers? I said, there's bootleggers on this street over there, and over where the is under the bridge. And he's like, you fucking stay right here. I was like, okay. He comes back. He's like, all right, you guys can hang and stay. They go back into the arena, the stadium, and we ended up staying on that entire tour, like the whole summer. And I ended up in San Diego, and that's how I moved there, was through tour, because I didn't have money back then to like pay to move.
Yes, I remember watching the Warped Tour stuff. Like they had the TV show on Fuse.
Yeah,
it was about the roadies that were on the Warped Tour. And then I spent a lot of time in my touring days in a bandwagon. And I know Bandwagon was a huge proponent. Like that was kind of how they got their start, was along things like Warped Tour, Mayhem Fest, things like in that era of stuff. So touring in those days, like that's, especially like a big tour like that in the rock scene where it's not like country. Country has it very easy compared to what rock can be at times, you know, especially like back then. Like you're really,
back then it was crazy. It's
a fucking grind, dude. Like it's nuts. It still is, but back then was like the heyday of it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's crazy then because I mean, I'm old as shit, so I remember like having to do like cell phones barely worked. We had like sidekicks.
Yeah.
Like
flip it up, text.
Yeah.
Flip it
So
down.
we just had to try and figure out how to get from place to place with damn books, and then a little bit of GPS, I guess. But I remember, oh god, that's true. So like there would be parts of like driving from like say like I don't know like Little Rock to wherever like Memphis, and you're like, sorry, Mom, I can't talk to you right now. Like cell phone's gonna go out, and it's like dead spot. And you're like, nowadays that's not a thing.
Yeah, and no GPS.
Exactly right. It's like, God, it's crazy. But yeah, that's the story with that, and the Green Day thing was crazy. So anyway, from Green Day, I met this person. Her name was Alicia, and she was working for a company called Tribal Brands, and I don't think that they exist anymore. And I think they came up with a technology that has like Shazam.
Yeah.
So back then, like VCast, like one of my clients, it ended up becoming after meeting Alicia was Verizon. So they would have this tour bus out there, and it would show all these kids like, you know, what cool things you can download on your phones back then, and just being the weird New York dude out there, I'm like, hey, you know, it'd be cool is if we get Adam out there and play a couple acoustic songs for Loser's Luck in front of all these patrons. That might do well for y'all. And they're like, all right, we'll do that. So we did that. And then that was like another like big leap into my career because my friend Britton Campbell, which now he works for G7 Marketing, which is like a great marketing company out here in Nashville. So yeah, we started doing that stuff, and I ended up getting a phone call after that year of Warped Tour and that Green Day tour, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to work with this new artist and market them." I'm like, "Okay, who is it?" And I was walking in and around in a Blockbuster at the time with my ex, and I was like, "Jonas Brothers, who's that?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's they're like and they're like, it is a new band." And I was like, "Yeah, they're a new band. That's cool." And the girl was like, my girlfriend was like, "What'd you say?" I said, "I don't know. They're asking me to go on tour with these new guys, Jonas Brothers." And she's like, "Yeah, that's them right there." And it was on like the freaking TV everywhere on this Blockbuster they were at. I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." How much does it pay? Because back then I was getting paid like stupid nothing, like $5 like a day.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about bandwagon stuff, man. I wish to God we were on that stuff.
Oh,
Like,
you guys were a van or SUV or sedan?
bro, my first year touring, I was in a Jeep Wrangler drop top with no trailer, just dying for 10 weeks on warp. Sucked. And then I did like the van thing, just living on top of the transmission that would just feel like 1,000 degrees and like your computer would melt. Sucked.
Jeez.
So anyway, I go out on this Jonas thing, and when we started with them, ironically enough, Britton Campbell from Losers Luck and Adam's drummer, he and I got together and jumped on that thing with a couple other guys, and we were doing like Verizon in-stores with them, and they couldn't even sell like 500 tickets back then. And they're like, all right, well, this went well, so now we're going to do 6 weeks. I think it was like 6-week contract in like these little clubs. I'm like, sick. So we do one show, and they're like, yep, we're rerouting everything, and it's now theaters. I'm like, okay, cool. And it's like, now it's an additional 8 weeks on top of that. I'm like, sick. So we just everything kept changing. And that first year for Jonas, everything was just skyrocketing. And we ended up going from little tiny in-stores to doing arenas in like 1 year. It was wild.
It's unheard of.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, we were out there for about 3 years, and we were using that like Shazam technology back then, which it wasn't called that, and just showing all these fans like how to do that. And what was cool about that technology back then, I think it still kind of works the same way. You know, SoundScan was so important. And for anybody that doesn't know what SoundScan is, basically it's an industry way of trying to figure out how many records you sold or singles. So we found this like weird little loophole that was legit, where if someone downloaded a ringtone back then, like boom, got them. That like counted as a sound scan. So we would just be out there in front of like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 kids every day, just playing these songs, and everybody would just download the songs for free, and they would just cultivate this huge marketing thing. I'm like, dude, this is exactly what I want to be doing. Because the whole reason why I got into the industry was to try and figure out ways to build revenue creatively to get these artists and bands enough money to have like a production, like a big show that their fans deserve. And I think that there's something to be said about that type of energy. If you have like a big show and you're throwing out all this energy and the crowd feels it and they send it back, that's a pretty cool experience. So to me, like that was what always drove me to trying to help. And you know, that I went from working for marketing companies into working for labels and then artists.
Yeah. So how long were you with Jonas Brothers? Because that's a generational gig right there, and you were right at the inception of it.
Yeah. So my thing with Jonas is that I was working for Tribal on that like marketing tour bus. I got a funny story about that too. So and it had like, it was a wrap with like their faces on it, like all that. And we were there. I think I jumped off after 3 years. I think Britton stayed there for an extra year. I think he was down there on that 4th year in like 2009. But funny story about that tour bus. I can't. So I'm gonna try and out one of our buddies real quick. So anyway, so what's funny about this, like we had the tour bus was wrapped with their faces, and we were in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Oh, God bless Reading. Is that the arena out there?
No, worse. It was a Hooters that we parked at, because we didn't have money to like spend money on hotels sometimes.
Yeah.
So we're just like, we'll just kick it on the bus. Why not? Like, it's cool. So I wake up one morning, kick the door open. I look outside the door, and I see this girl write her phone number on there. I'm like, oh fuck, this is gonna be something. This is gonna turn into something. This is like the first week of us having a tour bus, like the big tour. I can't remember what the name of that tour is offhand. I guess we'll fix that in post.
Yeah.
So I call up my folks over at Tribal. I was like, hey, I think we got like a thing that we got to try and figure out here. I was like, this girl just wrote her phone number on here. I think it's going to turn into something. So either we erase it or we let it rip. So my group that we were with, we all kind of talked about it, and we just figured out, well, we could either erase it and try to fight against the current, or we could try to keep it and see what happens. And dude, like we played Hershey, Pennsylvania, like that old stadium that's out there.
Yep.
It's like from 1845.
Oh yeah.
Open. And dude, it was covered that night. I mean, it was like 2,000 autographs, like just blasted, like numbers and like all kinds of stuff. Now, fast forward 2 weeks, I'm like, we got a problem. Like there's spray paint showing up. Sons of bitches are coming out with knives, like carving their freaking numbers and shit on there. Like my bus driver, dude, that poor dude. What was his name? We called him Parkway. So Parkway.
I love bus drivers. They're my favorite.
Well, Parkway got his name because he drove on like the Long Island Expressway, took the wrong turn to Jones Beach, and ripped off every single air conditioner unit off the top of the bus on that Parkway leading there. Anybody watching this that knows Jones Beach, shout out to your air conditioners that might fall off if you take the wrong turn.
Yes. Yep.
So anyway, Parkway was like, these sons of bitches to keep spray painting their names on the freaking windshield. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm like, that's kind of the game, I guess. And he's just scraping the shit off every show with a razor blade before we leave. Anyway, we ended up in like People Magazine, Teen Beat, or whatever those like Tiger things are. There, and it's funny now, like looking back, like I'm working with like folks that are from that generation, like they were huge fans then. And I won't out you right now, girl, but she is like a friend of mine. She goes, "Wait a minute, like that was your bus?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, I rode on that bus. I rode on it. I wrote my name. I put my number on it. And I said, I bet you did. She's like, I am so embarrassed. And she's like, there's no way that it was. And I picked up my Facebook and I was like, is this a picture that looks familiar? It was like 3 girls like doing some kind of like cheerleader thing and just spray painting their freaking name on the tour bus. Anyway, that first tour, $15,000 worth of damage.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So of course, like my folks up top, they're like, dude, like that's crazy. Like that's $15,000 of damage. Like I don't know, like how we can justify that. I was like, well, we did end up in like all these like really cool magazines. That's pretty rad. They come back and they're like, yeah, it was worth millions of dollars worth of press. I'm like, cool. So the following year we did it again and destroyed that bus. God help that bus. Like, I mean, the acetone in spray paint alone, you want to screw somebody up, just spray that on somebody's tires and it just eats the tires away. Like, that's how dangerous this shit was. It's crazy.
Where'd you go after Jonas Brothers? Is that Jonas Brothers stuff? That's crazy. I don't know where you go after
It's
that.
hard to come off of.
Gosh, I don't know. Where did I go? Jonas? I think, I remember now. Yeah, so I spent some time in San Diego, some time off from the road, just trying to just recoup, meet new folks or whatever. And then where did I end up? Where did I go? So Jonas Brothers, and then that's what it was. So I get a phone call from Britton Campbell again. This dude, he's gonna be all over this podcast. Sorry, bro.
We love you, Britton.
Yeah, we do love him. He's a great guy. He calls me up. He's always like, oh, I can do anything I want, which is it's him. He's driven, and he's like, hey man, I just got this new job. I was like, yeah, sick. What is it? And he's like, I'm working with Keith Urban. I'm like, okay. Sick. He's like, you want to jump on there? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So we go out and do this 2-week tour called No Frills. And Stephen Fraley was like our tour manager on that. And it was cool, dude. Like, took Keith Urban 2009 when he was like selling out arenas. We put him in like places like Joe's on Weed and like
But some of the best clubs that you can go to. We love, shout out to Ed Worm and Joe's on Weed. One of the best. We love Chicago, bro.
Dude, Ed's a beast.
He is. He's a saint. We love him.
Angel.
Yes.
Angel, man. So, yeah, we did stuff like that, which was so rad because, you know, real fans of Keith got to see him in such an intimate setting that they haven't seen in so long. And that was also sponsored by Verizon and Samsung and BlackBerry. And, I mean, we would have lines. I can't remember exactly how you were able to get into it, but I think you had to go to a Verizon store, sign up for it, do all that stuff, and then you got free tickets to it. And then after that, there was like another 2,000 to 3,000 people just camped outside hoping to get inside this thing. So we did that for 2 weeks. I came back home, and there were some folks that we had to let go for doing some stuff that they shouldn't have been doing with Verizon logos outside of a House of Blues with Keith Urban's face on the tour bus. So they went and did some other stuff, and I ended up hiring some other folks, and we went out and did, I think, like 10 months, like on a full arena tour.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the same thing as we were doing with Jonas Brothers, but it was in the country scene. So I was like, oh, that was like my first step into country music. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Get back to San Diego, take some time off a little bit again, and then Britton calls me again. He's like, hey, man. I've got another artist for us to work for. And I was like, really? He's like, well, actually, I'm doing it. And I said, okay, thanks. And he's like, yeah, I'm working with Cracker Barrel. I'm like, hell yeah. That's cool. That's good eating right there. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm recreating the Cracker Barrel front porch. I'm like, what do you mean by that? He goes, yeah, I'm literally taking 4x4s and rebuilding the porch every single show. I'm like, that's crazy. How many people do you have on the road? Because back on Jonas and Keith Urban and Green Day and all those guys, I mean, I think we had 12 people on that tour bus and it was like our own thing. He was just attached to this tour by himself and had locals help him. I was like, dude, you're going to call me back in like 10 days and you're going to be like, yo, dude, I can't do this by myself. He's like, no, I got it. I'm like, okay. So he calls me back. He's like, all right, you're right. I need you. I was like, all right, well, who's the artist? He goes, Brad Paisley.
Damn.
I'm like, so now you know where this is going to go. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that is. Who is that? And he's like, he's a country artist. I'm like, okay. Pay good? He goes, yeah. I was like, when do you need me to start? He goes, 4 days from now. I'm like, sick. I'll be there. He goes, do you have a passport? I said, nope. He goes, oh shit. It starts in Toronto. Yeah, that's cool. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. And he's like, dude, you're in San Diego. You might be able to get a passport right away. So I drive down to the passport office. Through like my validation ticket, it told me that I was there for an hour and 37 minutes with the freaking book in hand. And the following day I flew out to Toronto and kicked off Brad Paisley. Crazy. I don't know how you can even do that. Like, could you do that now?
I don't think so.
I just
No.
got my passport. It took 8 weeks or something like that. It's crazy.
Jesus.
Dude, but that's the sign. Everything.
That's real though, dude.
Yeah, dude, everything happens for a reason. Like literally, it's the journey. Like everything happens for a reason. And Brad Paisley at that time, so those years, that's like what, like 2010, 2011?
We're looking at, so let's see, Keith was 09. Brad was either 12 into 13. It was the Beat the Summer tour.
Yep, I went to shows at I saw that show at in Homedale, New Jersey, at PNC Bank Arts Center. I think down at the old it was Susquehanna Bank Center. It's been called the Tweeter Center, a bunch of different stuff in Camden, New Jersey.
Oh,
I saw
Camden.
that because that was my senior year of college. Like that was when last time for everything and all
Yeah.
those songs were out. And I remember that was like the production on that tour when he would have the kid come up and like do like it was like Mario Kart or something, right?
Yeah, so yeah, he was doing some of that stuff, and then it led into, I think, Beat the Summer, and they brought out DJ Silver.
Yep, that was one of his first gigs.
Dude, and I love DJ Silver, dude. Like, you want to talk about like a homie out there that really cares about people that are out here in Nashville?
Such a good guy. Yes.
Yeah, he's great. So they would do this thing where like Brad would do some type of little guitar lick, and it was and then DJ would try and like match it. It was like a little battle thing. It was kind of cool. I was like, wow, this production's kind of wild, man. Like, this reminds me of stuff that we were doing in the rock world, and like I got really into that, and that's where. So I was with Brad for I don't know how many, about 2 years. So I did the Cracker Barrel thing, then we came back for Kraft. So as you can see, like my career went from working for bands to record label, and then into like entertainment marketing, and I found like pretty good passion in that. And Brad's dad, Doug, he ended up calling me to have me come out and be his production assistant for Brad, because Brad's camp, they're really good people, and they want to make sure that their people are taken care of, and once they find someone that they like, they want to make sure that they have them in like that circle. So Doug hit me up and asked me to be the PA, and Doug, he's a good guy. He and I always cut it up, and I was like, I ain't working for you, just to mess with him. He's like, come on, Jimmy, you gotta play, you gotta work with me. And I was like, all right, we'll do it. So I got there, and I met a lot of folks through that experience, and a lot of bands like I think Lindsay L, Chase Bryant.
Yep.
They were on that tour, and eventually I think Dustin Lynch was on the following year. So a lot of good acts. I mean, Kane Brown was an opener on Brad.
Yep. Yeah, I remember all those shows. Like I remember seeing all those guys and Lindsay open up those shows. I remember Lindsay would do the meet and greet at the merch table at the Sheds after her performance, like in between sets. Like that's right. That's when I started getting into country music. So it's really cool to hear you were on the other side, the other side of that. That's fucking awesome.
It's wild, man. And to talk about Brad, I mean, he's just such a good steward of trying to help all these like newer young artists, like treats them well, pays them well. I mean, what a great platform to be on from that time period. And I was with Brad until probably 2019. And, there was this guy that I kept hearing rumors about. His name was Riley Green. And I was like, oh, Riley Green. And he's like, dude from Alabama. What's his story about? And they're like, oh, he's just starting out. And I think like that March of 2019, I get a phone call, and we're told like who's on the road with us. And I think it was Riley and maybe Dustin Lynch. No, it was Chris Lane.
Yep.
Was out on that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder who Riley's tour manager is. And it ended up, it was like an interim dude, the JW with Sam Hunt.
Yep.
So I was like, JW, what are you up to? He's like, I'm just filling in right now. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, I might want to try to be a tour manager at some point, try to go through that road. Because my goal was always to try and figure out ways of learning every aspect of the business. So I had a little bit of management experience prior to that. I was working with a hip hop artist, and I worked with him for about 2 years, helping him get his career off the ground and continuing that thing. So anyway, Riley and I got along real well that summer, and ironically enough, PNC was the day I was like, hey man, I'm just putting this out here and raising my hand. Like, I'd like to try to tour manage you if that's a thing that you're interested in. And he's like, well, I want to talk to you about that too. So let's try and figure it out. And then before I knew it, I was just tour managing him, like in that September, and we were just out there.
And what a great crew to be in. So I've heard a lot of stories about the Riley days through Ben Miller from my time on the road with Trey, and just seeing that explosion go from talk about like a grassroots guy like Riley Green coming up from literally playing at places in Auburn, Tuscaloosa, like a state in Alabama where I'm very familiar with, playing at the Floribama, sitting outside the venues in the parking lot and the pickup truck, like playing acoustically and having those pre-social media like viral moments almost, and just going from such a regional act to where he's at now, and you got to see all that shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, I feel like it was kind of, the story would repeat itself for me. Like, I felt like I was working with a lot of these artists that were just starting off, and then we get to a certain point and it just popped. So, and I saw that a mile away with, people like Kane. Like, you knew where his career was going to go before it was there yet. And the same thing with Riley. I knew from the moment I watched him, I was like, that dude's going to be a freaking star. It's going to happen. So for me to be part of that, like, I was really stoked to be part of that. I mean, it was cool. I mean, we were in the trenches. Like, Ben Miller can tell you all those type of war stories, and we were playing all these like smaller clubs, which was kind of crazy because I sort of skipped all that because I did all that stuff in the hardcore scene, but not in country music. So, I'm going to do like Texas Club and places like that.
I love Baton Rouge, bro.
Yes, that place rips. It's so funny.
It does. Oh yeah, and they got the Piccadilly for the catering down there.
That's
oh yeah,
right.
dude.
Hell yeah. So, you was getting to do those things, and then, the road to Billy Bob's and stuff like that.
Dude,
like,
the best barbecue. Billy Bob's. It's interesting, Billy Bob's. Like, I've been telling Nikki T, I got to get him down there because Nikki's never been to Texas.
Ow.
I know. I've been all through Texas and got to do Billy Bob's with Muscadine Bloodline back in the day, and it's interesting because people are sitting at the picnic tables. It's a different kind of vibe, but it is such a. And you go in the backstage area, and then there's like all the cattle, like it has that stockyard vibe to it, and then like the hands on the wall, and like the girls like lipstick and shit, like the guys that have sold it out, and like things like that. It's just a wild place.
Yeah, what he's talking about is like all these, it's like, what is it, concrete back
Yep.
there, and you can see the hands are just like black from people's hands, just keep touching them. So you're
Yep.
like, all right, that person was really like.
Co Wetzel has lots of lipstick on his. Parker McCollum, lots of lipstick on his. George Strait, lots of lipstick on his.
There might be some foundation on there too.
Yes.
They get really into that.
They really do. That's some Texas stuff for sure, dude. Yeah. What was one of your favorite clubs to go to back in those days?
Oh man, that is an unfair question to ask. I love all of them equally. I would say, I think Billy Bob's is cool because that's like a spot that you need to do that, and Green Hall.
Yes.
Green Hall, dude.
Yeah.
Like, the Willie Door.
Yeah, just hilarious. Just a historical spot.
See, I'm a history guy.
Yeah.
So I love stuff like that. I'm like, are you serious? Like, we're gonna have to crawl through this little window thing?
Then you love the Rave Eagle Club. Talk about history.
That place is
The
cursed.
Ghost Tour, bro.
Ghost Adventures need to be in there.
Oh, I mean, dude, they take you on a little tour. I remember going in that. We went right after all the Mac Miller stuff had happened.
Yeah, the Death Pool.
Yeah, we went down because I was there in 2019, right before COVID.
Yep, and they still have that thing on there. I took a picture. You want to know something that's really crazy about that? Did you like look at it really well?
Yes, yeah.
Did you notice where he signed that thing?
It's like,
Dude, it's wild. So he's part of like the 27 Club.
Yes.
Okay, so I think if I remember correctly, he signed it between the 25th marker and the 30th, right between. Then it gets even crazier. The depth of the water there, it says 6 feet. And then 3 days later, I think it was like 3 days later, then he passed away. So that's like 27.
Yep.
6 feet.
6 feet under.
Like, it gave me chill. Like, I was like, no way. really good friend of mine, and I know that you guys know him, Sam Crabtree. He's like,
Oh
yo.
yeah.
Sam's like, yo, bro, look at this. I'm like, oh my God. That, like, to me, that's crazy to have like that type of foreshadowing. But yeah, the rave, I think there's like 3 different venues in there.
And then were there other shows going on when you were there?
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I was gonna say for us, we were in the small bar stage with Muscadine. And we had Fair and Rachel's out with us, and there was like it was like Galantis or like a big EDM band in the ballroom. So we're loading out, and you just see these kids dangling out the window, just tripping on all kinds of stuff. And you just like you hear like Muscadine playing Porch Swing Angel, and then upstairs you just hear boom, boom, boom. It was crazy, dude. I love that. Love that place.
Yeah, there was definitely some of that stuff. I don't remember who was up there though, because with Riley, I think we've played every single stage in there.
Wow.
And, the last time, I don't think anybody's supposed to know this. I went into the boiler room underneath the pool.
By yourself?
Somebody walked me in there.
I was gonna say.
I brought Charlie Diaz, Riley's newer guitar player, down there. I was like, "Hey man, you want to go downstairs into the boiler room?" And this is like we're a couple drinks in. He's like, "Well, fuck yeah, I'll do it." So we're in there, and he's like, hey, "Dude, it's the scariest thing you can possibly go in there. Like, it's crazy. It's just old, weird, creepy clown pictures and shit in there that people leave, and you just feel like a weird heaviness, especially when you're inside that pool."
Yeah.
Like anyone, you guys just look up the pictures of the pool. And of course, they put the freaking production office like overlooking the shit.
Yep. Oh yeah, that is something they do. And then you have all the Jeffrey Dahmer shit across the street at the hotel.
Yeah, Ambassador.
Yep.
Like, why? Why are y'all doing that? It's a crazy.
Of all the places, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the other ones. I mean, they all have their own special place. They're all just so different, you know. That's the thing. Like, I mean, going into like Zydeco.
Oh, bro.
And just knowing what went there.
That is one of my favorite spots because I'm like you, like I'm very connected with the Alabama scene, and Zydeco is a spot where Riley has a lot of history, Muscadine has a lot of history, Adam Hood has a lot of history, you know, Wayne Mills, God bless him, a lot of history, Jamie Johnson, like everybody that's come out of that state, just so much history, and just there's something about a room with low ceilings, like the Dusty Armadillo in Rootstown.
Dude, that place rules.
Yes, yeah, there's something about the low ceilings, and especially you being a rock guy, you got to appreciate that. Like those are rock clubs that do country music.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that? You just reminded me. You remember Crazy Bowl?
Yeah. Oh, dude. God bless. Yeah, dude. Loved Rick Hill. He passed away. I think within the last year or two. Yeah. That was the one of the first weekend I ever spent on tour with Muscadine Bloodline, Huntsville, Alabama, and Macon, Georgia. We did Bragg Jam, and I met. That was the first time I met Bradley Jordan and Thomas Trainer was at Sidetracks in Huntsville, Alabama. And I was just filling in selling merch. And then I got the gig the next week. But I remember going down to Macon, and it's Crazy Bowl just with that. Who's the production guy in there? Is it Dibbles?
Oh God, I couldn't remember.
Oh yeah, see, I remember all the production guys, dude.
Well, see, the thing is, you guys know this about me. Like names, forget it. Faces, I'll remember the face.
Yeah.
All day long. So Bradley Jordan, yeah. So what's funny about a place like Crazy Bowl, and that's why I was gonna lead to Bradley, is I skipped all of those type of clubs. So and I was also in all these arenas and stadiums and stuff for a long time, and you have that infrastructure, and we get back into these things. I'm like, oh fuck! There's like no security guards anywhere.
Oh yeah, no
like
security, no barricade. Oh yeah, the Blue Room.
Statesboro, Georgia.
God's
one of my favorite places.
God's country. God bless you, William Bridwell, Al Chapman, the Blue Room. We love you.
The homies.
Yes.
I spent 1 year going to Georgia Southern. Failed out within that year. 2018 to 2019, my freshman year.
Hell yeah.
Blue Room was my home.
Dude, and the Blue Room's cool too, man. Like we were doing an outdoor show. This is probably my first weekend out on Riley, and they had security guards and they were taking care of us. Obviously, that's a no brainer. But what blew my mind was that all the staff kept walking through the green room.
Oh yeah, that green room is not private.
Yeah, and
it's a community area.
I'm like, hey, this is not cool. Like we got shit in here. Like I got a little up about it, and I talked to Bradley. And he's like, we'll try and fix it. You know, Bradley. He's like, oh, we'll try and fix it right now. And he's like dealing with like generator out shit going out in the outside and like trying to help me out with the green room thing. So like that was a learning curve for me, man. Like I like wanted to really understand that type of the culture of the country music. And I'm really grateful for that too. Cause it brought me to places like Crazy Bull, which was just insane. It's like they just stuck a stage in the middle of whatever the shit was in there. and you just kind of crammed yourself on there.
Yeah, that big like that old drum set that's up there, and like the big drum, the drum. What is it? The sound things. Well, there's the riser and then the sound things.
Oh, the fishbowl thing.
Yes,
yeah.
the fishbowl.
Oh my God. My production manager at the time, Griffin, he's like, we can't do a show in here. I said, well, we're going to do it. And everybody else has done it. So he's like, look at the fucking stage, dude. And I looked at it. I'm like, wow, this is going to be pretty tough. And you know, hanging out with people like Quinn,
Yes.
like Riley's drummer, like, man, he would be like, hey man, this is kind of how it is. Like, he's like real chill about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So he was like my ride or die out there a lot of times. And we were just kind of trade war stories. And, but yeah, with Bradley Jordan, that's when I met Bradley, which is crazy to think. Like, I've been in country music at that point for how many years? Since 2009. And I never met him because it just I wasn't in that circle and he wasn't in the same circle as me.
Yeah.
Like, he was obviously promoting big shows like that, but my gig out on Brad and Keith, I was way outside of that stuff. So getting to meet Bradley, I was like, oh, this is like a dude that cares about what he's doing and cares about these artists. And, you know, I was like, well, maybe I can kind of slide under and just have him be like a mentor. And he ended up being like just such a good friend to me and helped me through a lot of things that I was trying to figure out with even like day-to-day stuff with Riley stuff and just other things like other projects I was working on. And, dude, that dude's he's the man.
Yeah, he's been like a Southern uncle to me.
Yeah.
Like, and especially like he's been someone that I've gotten to see the scene through from doing a number of shows with a number of Peachtree shows and like going to different festivals, and always been a guy that I know I can call, and he's Bradley, you know, he's somebody that's done it from the owner side of a club with the Peachtree Tavern and getting guys like Cole Swindell early for a showcase, getting guys, the 4-wheel drive guys, early John Langston, early Travis Denning, when Jordan Rager and Cole Taylor were really involved in the scene, to Muscadine, obviously Luke, to now the generation even now of the guys and girls that are coming up, the under 25s that are out there. And you're seeing it too, because you're getting to work on some of those projects. Like, it's wild stuff, man.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun thing about it too, is, you know, his A&R eye, and he'll never say this stuff or admit it, so I'm going to do it. So his A&R eye is just so sharp, like it's crazy. And you know, we were talking at one point, I was like, man, like, you should really consider trying to manage at some point. He's like, no, I'm not a manager and I don't want to move to Nashville and do all that thing. Like, I need to stay in Georgia for like some family stuff. And I was like, dude, I respect that, but you just got to find someone that you can trust up here to just be the guy. And he's like, well, why don't you manage? And I said, well, I think about doing that, but I don't know like where to even start with who or whatever. But Lane, he introduced me to Ella. Him and Bradley introduced me to her at Zydeco. She did a show there, and that's how we met. And I was like, well, this girl Ella Langley is somebody that we should probably manage. Like, I want to manage her real bad. He's like, well, she's still kind of new in the career because this is way back. I was like, all right, well, I want to keep an eye on it. And anyway, long story short, I convinced him to start helping me co-manage her, and that's how we started doing it. Like, he was already trying to help her out, just like any other artist that he was doing. I'm like, dude, you got to like start figuring out a way to do this and keep it. Like, because the thing is, he wanted to grow these artists, and then he would send them to people, which is cool that he was doing that and doing the right thing, because he didn't feel like he was set up for it at that point. So now we got something going on. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he's got years of experience and knows the market and has seen it for the last decade and a half of artists growing, particularly in the Southeast. And someone like Ella, proud Hope girl,
Right.
spent some time in Auburn, Alabama. And Ella, I remember the first time I met Ella was at a kickball game here in Nashville back in the COVID kickball days.
Oh yeah, I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah, that was how I met Trey, Ella, and all them. And they thought of me as the New Yorker that works with Gary and Charlie from Muscadine. So that gave me my street cred with Ella, with Trey, with Mitch Wallace, with that whole crew. I was connected, and the Alabama folks, Justin Holt, they all gravitated towards me because I was working with an Alabama act. Like, it's that family dynamic and stuff. So what's it been like now getting from like, you're not on the road anymore, but you still get to go on the road for some of these, like watching a girl live out her dream, and just the rocket ship is just starting to take off, and it's already pretty fucking far up there, dude. It's crazy.
It's insane. Like, we're SpaceX right now. But again, like, it's kind of like the repeat and wash thing. It's like, for me, it's just starting off with these artists that are good people that are just starting off, and just launching them. And what better person to do that with than Bradley Jordan? I mean, come on. And, you know, Ella's got a really big year coming up this year, which is going to be pretty fun watching that. But yeah, what'd you say again?
I was well, and then that leads you into now you're kind of your own boss, and you're doing this workhorse thing. So what's that all about, and what kind of led you to do that? I love the name, by the way, because you have to be a workhorse to succeed in this industry.
Dude, that's all I want to surround myself with, like Megan.
Oh, dude, she is the ultimate. Like, and she's a past guest on this podcast as well.
Really?
I had Megan on when I was doing this in my spare bedroom, awesome. down the road, and I was just figuring out the podcast stuff, and we had her on for like our first like industry. We were doing like the industry series thing, and getting to hear her story and all that she's gone through to get to where she is, from starting out as a fan and like on the media side in California to now being an integral part of the scene, and especially the behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, you talk about a workhorse, and that is Megan.
Yeah, it's crazy. I met her as like, she was just, I don't want to downplay this, but like for Bradley in this one show, I think it was Ned Kelly's we were playing.
Oh, dude, fucking Milledgeville,
Georgia.
Fucking Milledgeville. I got stories. We talk about it often. My God, fucking Milledgeville. Ugh.
I do too. Pizza Olympics. Dude, Rocky, shout out to Rocky.
Yes, DJ Rock.
DJ Rock. So Megan, you know, she's a doer, dude. Like, she does everything. So she was a runner on this like doubleheader that we were doing at Ned's with Riley, and I'm like, you are not a runner, dude. And she's like, yeah, well, you know, I do other stuff. Like, she's just trying to downplay it or whatever. And I don't know. We started working with Ella, and Bradley's like, yeah, Megan's gonna help us out with this. I said, this is great, because I think that she's got so much talent with everything that she does. Like, just really brilliant. I can't talk enough about her. So, you know, we brought her on officially as Ella's day-to-day manager, and she's been crushing it. Like, her label services brain, that side of her brain, like working with Average Joe's, is so crazy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I hit the 20-year mark on being on the road. Like, it kind of blew my mind that I hit around there. And I always kind of had that in my head anyway, like, you know, get this dude Riley to maybe play stadiums at some point before 2025 or whatever. And, you know, here we are on Luke Combs. And we did Dallas, and I was like, okay, we did it. We're at the Cowboy Stadium. This is freaking crazy. And so I'm already probably about a year and a half in with working with Ella at this point. And long story short, I mean, hit that 20-year mark back in June and stepped off and took the plunge straight into management full time. And you know, it's been great. Dude, it's crazy. Like, and to your point, like, I can still go out and do things. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, dude, like, you're a road dog. Like, you can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean I can't do that? And like, you're going to fucking hate it. You know, being at home sucks. And like, you have that in you. Like, you need to be out on the road all the time. I said, well, I can totally do that. And then, like, literally the next week I was out like on a 3-day run in Florida. I'm like, there you go. I'm on tour again for this weekend. And I think that there's something that I'd say this gingerly, because I don't want to make anybody upset or anything, but I think there is something important in the fact of, you know, managing an artist, especially someone that is at Ella's size or even smaller like Wyatt, and intimately knowing like what that's like to be out there. You know, I have this saying that I've always had in my head of like, you can either break an artist or you can break an artist. So I'd rather, you know, be conscious of how much they're working and have a healthy balance on that thing. And I think it's really easy to accidentally lose sight of that, especially post COVID. Like, everyone, like during COVID, everyone was like, oh shit, like we've got to get after it. Like, I mean, when with COVID, we had no jobs, and like we had to create our own. So like, you know, with Workhorse, we purposely try not to call it a management company, because we want to do a lot of different things and just be almost like a, I don't know, I don't want to say like a 360 deal that's a la carte, because I don't want to pin anybody into having to do everything. But yeah, I mean, during COVID, I had this buddy, you know, Matt Mulhair.
Oh, dude, I love Matt Mulhair. That's my paisan. That's another local local 845 boy.
Yeah, he's a Juchadil too.
Yes.
You know?
Oh yeah, we love him.
So him and his dad, I've known them through the Paisley camp for years. So I probably know Matt since he was like 11. So anyway, you know, COVID, nobody had any work, so I was like, I'm going to create work, and you know, luckily we manifested enough, and I got a phone call from Matt and Matt's dad, and he goes, Jimmy, I got somebody up at West Point University that needs help. You know, I was like, okay, have you ever met his dad?
I have not. I've not had the pleasure yet.
All right, we're gonna have to work on that. So I was like, all right, what do you got? He's like, I need you to put a show up at West Point. And West Point means a lot to me because like my grandfather had like a dream to go there, and he was an Irish New Yorker, and as he was just about to go, because he was Catholic, like it checked every mark. He had to go to World War II and missed the opportunity.
Yeah.
So I was like, are you serious? I'm going to work with West Point? They're like, yeah. I was like, oh, what's the program? They're like, you're going to have to build Main Street USA on their property. I was like, holy shit, what does that mean? And so I get tied in with Dr. Matthews and a couple of the generals up there, and we ended up working out a deal where it took about 15 weeks, and we did a COVID-safe concert on the property.
I remember this. Yeah.
Dude, it was a lot of fun to work on that. It was Together We Stand, and basically it was mental health. Like while people were doing a lot of horrible things and going through a lot of terrible things, like this was one outlet for them to get away and like escape that reality for a little bit. So we, my idea was just to try and bring money to the home team, like buddies. And remembering Travis Denning from like that first tour that we did with Riley, I was like, all right, so we're going to put Riley on here. We're going to pay him good, get all the boys paid that are out on the road. So get a little paycheck off of that. And then we're going to put Travis Denning on there and help his boys. And then we stuck Matt Mulhair Jr. on there. And I think he was funny, man. That was like the first like big show that he ever did. I think felt like he was shitting razor blades out there. It was so good, man. So we played, it was a 4,400 cap room. And we were legally allowed to have 1,100 people there. We were dealing with like on the phone with like Cuomo, dealing with like, he's like, what day are you trying to do this show? I'm like, we're doing it on 9/11. He's like, you're 9/11. I said, yeah, 9/11 in 2020. He's like, well, you can't. I said, well, it's already done. Like we got it. And he's like, we're not going to do the lights that day. I said, why are you not going to put the lights up? And he's like, well, it's going to have a lot of people will be gathering. I'm like, okay. So I said, well, we'll just put the lights up on West Point. That'll be fine. We'll just do it ourselves and then get like a bunch of names. So we were working with a couple companies down in Georgia that were dealt with like NASCAR guys, and we were getting this thing together. And then I don't know, it was like a couple of days later, he made an announcement. He kept the lights up, and then we did the show. So it was crazy too, because we had to write all the COVID protocols to do a COVID safe show. So they took that information and sent it to Army football, NCAA. And then Alabama won that championship that year. So Nick Saban, you owe me a ring. I'm not even a fan. I just need that. You won. I helped you with that, whether you know it or not.
That's awesome.
So like I bring all that up because we were just trying to figure out creative ways of just building revenue and helping people. Like again, helping our artists and our buddies. So there's no idea that's like off the table on what we're trying to do in the industry. But marketing an artist and managing an artist, that's like the everything for what we're trying to accomplish with that.
That's so important for people to have. And you guys all collectively, the team that you've built in yourself, like you guys have more skills than just management. Like you guys know so many different facets of the industry to where I think it is, like you said, I think it is kind of a disservice just to call Workhorse a management company, because it's more than that. It's an integral part of the community that's needed. Like it's a big deal, dude. And to have folks like Ella and Wyatt McCubbin, talk about Wyatt for a little bit, because Wyatt has been, Nikki T brags about his first time seeing Wyatt. I know he talked to you about this. First time he saw Wyatt McCubbin was at country concert years ago, and it was on like the camper stage, and it was Wyatt McCubbin and Florida Georgia Line, and they each played 2 sets in Fort Loramie, Ohio, at country concert. Dude, like
what a place.
A decade ago. Like one of Nikki, I think it was Nikki's first time going out there, so it was like 12, 13 years ago.
Man, dude, I might have been there for that.
Yeah.
I wonder if Brad was there, because I would have been with Paisley. That was the first time I ever met Charlie Daniels was there.
Yeah.
That dude was awesome.
Yes, he was. So nice. Yeah. I got to meet him at Rock Ribs and Ridges in Sussex County, New Jersey. It was a weird Southern rock rib festival that I used to go to, and I was the youngest guy by about 30, 40 years.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you were. Dude, I love how his guitar tech used to just be on stage with him.
Oh, yeah.
He was just working on his guitars. So like,
just off to the side of the stage.
He's on the stage. It's like part of the shit. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Those are like parts of country music I'm like, that's cool shit. And that reminds me of the old punk days of like, we're just doing this thing and putting good music out there and having a good time, and it doesn't matter about the rules.
Yeah, and there's so many, that rock mentality is in country music.
Yes.
Like it is
Like
so.
Hardy.
Oh, dude. I mean, you talk about it. Like I joke around with people. Like the people that built butt rock are the people that built bro country, and they're in the game. They're in the country game now too, and you see it with artists, and you even see it. Like I remember Ella saying at the release of the EP show, she said, me and my friends got together and we decided to write a butt rock song. And me and Nikki T and I looked at each other. We were like, fuck yeah, butt rock's working.
Yeah, dude. That's funny. Yeah, 'cause,
That's why we fight.
bro. And it's funny. Like when you go back and you listen to like that opening riff of that song, you're going to go, oh yeah, that's pretty badass, because Ben Flanders, that dude's just monster.
Oh, dude.
Monster
You have
guitar player.
you surround yourself with good guitar playing Bens.
Yeah. I just said the idea. Exactly. Yeah, why are they all named Ben? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just different flavors of it. But yeah, I mean, Ben's in that scene. He plays with Scott Stapp.
Yeah.
So, we got a little bit of that type of flavor in our music too. And that's cool, man. Like that metal side with Ella, like her mom is very much like into metal and Fleetwood Mac and stuff like that. And her dad is very country. Yeah. And she's like, all right, I'm mom and dad, and put that thing together. It's really cool to see that. That kind of bridge that. But, so yeah, with Wyatt, he's just good old country boy out of Ohio. I met him, it was probably the beginning of 2021, and we were out on the road with Riley, and Riley would have him come out and be an opener every once in a while. And, him and Eric Dillon, which is another like monster.
We love Dylan. We love Eric Dillon,
How can
bro.
we not?
Yes.
That dude rules too.
One of a kind dude.
God, if it wasn't for Eric, I probably wouldn't have the conversations I would have with Wyatt, because he was just such a champion. Him and Singleton were big champions of that.
Yep.
So, my approach, I don't like to poach people. I don't like to be aggressive. I like to just raise the hand and like help out. Like if there's anything that people need help with, I'm like, dude, I'm down to do that. So with Wyatt, getting to meet him, I'm like, oh, this, like he and I hit it off right away. Like we're just buddies. And, he's done some stuff in his career that, we just kind of worked through. And at one point he hit me up and he's like, I think it's time. I said, what's the time? He goes, I think we should try to do this thing. Like I'm just really worried about getting signed to something. I'm like, okay, well, here's the thing. You don't have to sign anything. I don't care about contracts. Doesn't matter. If you like working with me, cool. If you don't, that's cool. And the same thing goes the other way too. Like if you're not doing your job, then like, what are we doing really? Right. And he's like, dude, I'm ready to get after this. And like, I wonder if there's like a world where I could do like a trial period of something. I was like, well, let's just work on a project together and get that off the ground. So anyway, I said, what are some of the things you're trying to accomplish? He's like, I need guitar strings. I've just finished up with Cameron Marlowe, and I just don't want to be spending like $30 on guitar strings every once in a while. I was like, okay, boop, 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 little email, boom. Now he's got a string deal that's getting worked out now, which is great. What's another thing you're trying to do? He's like, oh, I'd really like to try to meet some of these folks over at the Opry. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So I met Jordan Pettit and I hung out with him a bunch of times. I was talking to him about Wyatt, and next thing you know, like they're in a meeting with Opry Dan hanging out, having beers.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't feel like I needed to be at that meeting because what do I need to be there for? Wyatt's the guy. So they hit it off. They did well, and he got to meet the Opry folks. And he's like, man, like we just need to keep this ball going. I was like, all right, well, what do you have music wise? He goes, dude, I've written 500 and blah, blah, blah amount of songs. I'm like, I bet you did. Like, you're crazy. He's got cuts. Like, for anybody that doesn't know why, I mean, he's got cuts on Riley's new record. I think he's like, what is that? Copenhagen and the Cadillac.
Yep.
He's got that one, which is a great song with Jelly Roll. He's got Hell of a Way, Put 'Em on Mine. There's like a fourth one I can't remember right now, but he's got a lot of that stuff going on. I think he's working a lot of different artists. He's got a really sharp mind with that. And I don't know. It just makes a lot of sense for us to work with him. He just wants to get after it. He's a genuine dude. He plays real country music, and he's got a great outlook on what his career looks like. And plus, he's still young enough to be able to go and crush this thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's been in the game for a while, but he's still so young, and he hasn't even like scratched the surface of where he's gonna be.
Yeah, he's like immortal or something. It's crazy. Like he's told me one day, he's like, "Yeah, I've been doing this for like 10 something years." I'm like, "So you started when you were like 7?" Like, what the hell? And he's like, no, 14, idiot. But that's funny stuff. But yeah, he's been around for a long time. He's been in the industry. I mean, he's got a lot of people that want to champion him, just like Ella. I mean, how can you not want to champion people like those guys. Like they're just great.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're just starting to get the ball rolling with Wyatt. You know, I want to make sure that whatever we're doing with Workhorse, that we don't overexpand too quick. Because I think the other thing too is, you know, backing to the mental health aspect of life, I also don't want to wear anybody of my team out. Like bandwidth, I think is a really important thing. So, you know, I don't want to bring too many artists on and then our team's like, well, we can't handle the workload. Like I'm working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not good. So, yeah, Wyatt's got an EP coming out this weekend, Friday, and then it'll lead into like a full length at Q1 of next year. So,
Hell yeah.
yeah, Tape Room and Egg Room have been helping him out with that pretty much. It's an interesting dynamic with that too. You know, you go from with Ella signed to Columbia, and then it's just a totally different. It's almost like like punk rock, like they just no rules. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing with Wyatt.
That's awesome. You got anything you want to ask, Mr. Peyton?
Yeah, I was just curious, going all the way back to like your tour managing days and whatnot, like the transition from tour managing and production assistant to artist management. Like, what did you take from tour management and your previous experiences to just jumping right into artist management? Because it takes a certain person to be able to manage an artist. So, like, what experiences did you bring in? What were like the main points that you learned throughout your time on the road to come and settle down just doing artist management?
I think like a really easy answer for that, for anybody that's like trying to come up through it, is like being a PA and even a tour manager. Like you're one way or another, you're some type of an extension of what management is trying to accomplish, and you're just facilitating and pulling the trigger on everything that they need. And that touches everything. Like with Brad as his PA / road manager or whatever it ended up, like the title didn't really matter, just how it worked out. Like I was in the room dealing with all the radio people every day, like PMs and MDs. So like learning that type of record label stuff and just like putting that in my mind, and then how to logistically get a PJ to fly you from Stagecoach to Pittsburgh in an overnight to go do a stadium show. Like putting all those type of pieces together with like production managers that are really sharp. Like you just try to learn all those things, and as long as you keep trying to learn, then that's all the tools that you need to be a manager. And I mean, there's a lot of other things like relationship stuff that you need to have, and people that you meet, and you know, just being open-minded to talking to folks and asking questions. I think that was really, I guess, the linchpin for that for me. It's just to keep learning. And I think, you know, with Brad and into Riley, I think that's like a 5-year turn, plus all the other years of me doing it in different aspects. So hopefully that answered that right. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
You did. So what do you like to do when you're not doing music-related stuff? I know you are a big hockey fan.
Huge hockey.
No, you're a pizza connoisseur.
Dude, I played hockey in middle school and college. RIP to that. Dude, I tried.
Where'd you go to college?
LIU.
Okay, yeah.
So Southampton.
Yep.
So
I looked at CW Post, and I
Yeah.
looked at Hofstra for college. I ended up not going. Those were my only trips to Long Island were to look at those schools, and I never went out there.
Dude, I forgot about CW Post. Holy shit. Yeah, I was torn between going to Penn State, Notre Dame, or just stay local, and I just stayed at LIU.
Yeah, there's the Irish Catholic coming out, Notre Dame.
It's funny stuff. I used to put that on my resume. It'd be like, college, went to Notre Dame. I didn't freaking lie. I went there once.
Yeah.
Did a show there. Fucking awesome.
South Bend, baby.
So, yeah, shout out to resumes.
Yeah, and you go to a lot of Preds games, but you're an avid Rangers fan as well.
I am, yeah. So that's kind of the hard part, man. I grew up as a Rangers fan, man. I was just talking about this the other day. I remember like actively becoming a hockey fan in second grade. I had a teacher, Mr. Kaplan. He's still alive too. He's kicking it. I was talking to my dad about him over Thanksgiving. But yeah, we had like in school, we had to separate the class into 4 different reading groups, and I was on the Rangers, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I was like, that's sick. So yeah, I used to go to a lot of Rangers games back in the 90s. That
Oh,
shit
you
was
saw.
crazy.
Yeah, you see, I was born in between the Yankees winning in '96 and the Rangers winning in '94, and the Knicks being in the finals. Like,
Yeah.
so I only get to go back and watch highlights. But
I was
like,
old and dusty, man. I'm old dusty.
but like the Messier, Brian Leach,
The
Graves.
Moose.
Yes, dude. I mean, that era of of hockey. Like we got to go to the game last night and it was fun. We were up in the nosebleeds, but there's something about just being at a hockey game.
Yeah, dude.
Even minor league hockey's fun. I
Yes.
went to Rider University for college in central New Jersey, and we had a club hockey team. Division II club hockey was it. And it was like Slapshot Road. It was
Hell
so
yeah.
much fun. But even watching those, like there's just something about the sport of hockey that's special. And it's another thing, like you talk about Workhorse, like grinding. Hockey is a grind too, just like this music thing is.
It totally is, man. 60 minutes of craziness and chaos. People have asked me back at home, they're like, oh, so you go to Predators games a lot, huh? I was like, yeah, well, I mean, it's cool to be at these games. And they're like, well, what's the crowd like? I'm like, well, when I first started going, I don't think anyone really understood what the sport was, which totally understandable. And now, like, Nashville is just such a hockey town, dude. Like, the way that I describe the crowd, it's like 1990s Madison Square Garden Ranger games that I remember vividly, but with a lot less cursing.
Yes, they
Like
are
a
Southern.
lot
They
less.
are Southerners.
Yeah.
Yes,
Dude.
a lot of
We're
families.
very proper.
Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of families, dude, and it is a very much a hockey town.
is.
And it's funny because you would think the football team would be bigger, and what's cool is we can root for the Predators and we can root for the Rangers.
Yes.
Not this Saturday,
Not
but
December
not
2nd.
not December 2nd, but we can root for each of them because the beauty of Eastern Conference and Western Conference.
That's right. Yeah, there is a little bit of, we're safe for now.
Yeah,
I have
see-
a feeling it's going to change, though.
Really? How so? What do you? They're going to redo everything? You
Who
think?
knows, man? There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, shit. It's so close to the East Coast. Think about that. And look where Calgary is. Calgary's in, like, basically Egypt.
Yeah.
Like, imagine them having to travel everywhere. They're like, the Saddle Dome is nowhere. Like, they have long trips. That's why they do so bad.
Yeah.
Because they're just on the plane all the time.
Yeah, and then they're talking about putting a baseball team here, which but it's like for
It's
me,
gonna happen.
It's
yeah,
overdue.
for
long
me,
overdue.
for me,
happening.
for me, it has to be a National League team because I still want to root for my Yankees. I can't. Like it's tough because are you a Yankees guy as well?
Yeah, I'm the weirdo. So I like the Mets and Yankees.
Oh.
I'm weird, dude. I grew up as a Mets fan because my uncle thought it was cool.
A
And
Long Island kid, it makes sense.
Yeah, and I was like, this is really rad in high school when we were just winning all the
Oh,
time.
the '80s, yeah.
Dude, it was like 96, 98.
Oh, the
like,
Piazza days.
hell
Yeah.
dude, I would skip out of Yankees. I would skip out of school and go to the parade. Like when the Rangers won, went to that parade. Like imagine being like in 6th grade and you just jump on a freaking train into New York City by yourself.
And you're in the Canyon of Heroes.
Yeah, like it's fucking crazy climbing telephone poles.
Yeah.
12 years old.
Yeah, and the Yankees had a bunch of parades back then.
Yeah, dude,
It was like a
nuts.
year. It was like a yearly tradition.
Yeah, it was. It's like, all right, you know what's funny about that? I remember now, geez, that sparked a memory. They literally closed the school down that day that the parade was going to happen because they knew that everybody was just going to jump out in high school. That's a fact. True fact. Fact check that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, the Predators, we've nicknamed it as like the girlfriend team. You know, I'll always be a Rangers fan forever. That's just
The
what it is.
Gumar.
That's there you go. So yeah, this is gonna be funny. December 2nd, Rangers, Predators. Preds are 6 games in a row winning.
Yeah, they looked good. Forsberg, 10 seconds into overtime last night, netting that, and it was cool watching them play the Pens too because you have all those old guys on that team.
Yeah.
The end of that, and if they didn't have the expansion draft, they probably still would have had Fleury too.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a lot of crazy stuff. Anytime I go to a Pens game, this is something that I know that Nikki T's gonna hate. I'm sorry, but I like me. So we have seatmates now. Like we just become buddies with people.
Yeah.
You sitting around.
The beauty of the season ticket package. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know your neighbors. It's a neighborhood.
Dude, they're awesome. So like last night we had 6 tickets. I only have 2 normally, so we just went out there. But I'll give everybody these like sheets of paper that have scores on them. So every time that Crosby falls down or gets hit and just dives, we put the diving scoreboards up every time. Sorry, Nick, it's true.
Malkin was diving last night.
Oh,
old
God.
Russians. What I love about him is that he still acts like he doesn't know English. He still does the Sammy Sosa,
Oh,
a
yeah?
speaky English bullshit.
Oh,
He's
dude.
like, I don't know, just so he can skip out on pressers. He's been doing that for 20 years.
I guess that's kind of smart though, so you don't have to keep talking to folks about things. I mean, what are you going to talk about next? Like, yeah, we dove again. Yeah, of course you did. Of course you did.
The Pittsburgh diving team.
Oh, dude, that's what I'm saying. They're like Olympically trained. It's crazy. Yeah, I used to have this conspiracy theory about Kansas City, about being like the place where they would put the Penguins eventually. And it's funny because when they opened up the arena, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head right now. It used to be called the Sprint Center, which Sprint back then, that's Penguins colors.
Yep.
And at one point, there was talks about them moving over there, and they built that arena. And the colors of the seats are like that weird muted gold color and black. I might have fact checked that with somebody, and it was confirmed that they were supposed to go there to Kansas City, and then I guess Mario Lemieux ended up being like part owner of the team, and they kept him there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I did that, but the expansion team, like what you were talking about before, I truly think that 26 or 27, we will have like probably the Tampa Bay Rays here, and they'll be called Nashville Stars. That's my guess. I put money on that.
Why the Rays?
Their contract's up on their stadium.
That's like Baltimore's contract was up, but they just renewed it. That was the other one I was
Yeah,
thinking.
they're like,
Oh,
move
shit.
them out of Baltimore.
See, I would love for the Pittsburgh Pirates to come here because nobody gives
Stop saying that
nobody
shit.
gives a fuck about them in Pittsburgh.
I'm a huge Pittsburgh
It's a
fan.
beautiful stadium that is on the river, so why not build another beautiful stadium? Do the Philly thing where you put all the stadiums in the same fucking parking lot, and then you could still have it on the river, have the beautiful Nashville skyline instead of the Pittsburgh skyline, and you could have people that'll actually go to the games.
Nobody gives that much fuck about the Nashville skyline. It's not as pretty as the Pittsburgh skyline at PNC Park.
It is a pretty cool park.
It is.
That's
It
one
is.
of
See,
my-
It's not going anywhere.
I've been wanting to go for forever. I've never
You
been to
haven't been?
Pittsburgh.
Oh.
That's like there's two things I have to do to fully be a firm owner of Raised Rowdy. I have to go to the city of Pittsburgh where Raised Rowdy was incepted, and I have to get a Raised Rowdy tattoo. Those are the two things I'm missing.
You gotta
that
say Yins.
Nicky T's got. Yeah, and Yins hang out with
yeah.
Al.
Oh, yeah, what was that? I kind of remember that name.
Yins got. Yeah, they just say Yins. Instead of like you guys, they go Yins guys want to get a beer. Yins guys want to go downtown.
Love Yins.
It's
Hell
just it's just Midwestern. They're confused if they're Midwestern or East Coast. You know, it's like that weird Appalachia shit. And you've been in Nashville for how many years now?
I think we officially moved to probably 2013.
Okay, so
Yeah,
10-year town,
Shit,
and you're here 10 years.
bro, that is a very real thing. Like a 10-year town, that's very real. That's absolutely real. And anybody that thinks they're gonna like jump in and just be something at some point, like right away, smoke crack.
Yeah, because I just hit my 5-year mark.
And
So
look
I'm
at
like
you.
halfway through, and I'm still figuring it out. But we're growing this thing and figuring it out. But in 10 years of being here, do you see yourself going anywhere else?
No, I mean no, unless I become like crazy rich and just disappear into the wilderness.
That's what I'm saying. I hit the lottery ticket. I'm out of here.
Going to Sag
I'll-
Harbor, baby.
I'll
Yeah,
Hasta la
where would
vista.
you go if you hit the lottery and you just bounced? Where would you go?
Hey, Matt, yeah, where would you?
And
go?
or any of you?
I do a farm very, very far away so nobody could fuck with me. But then I'd also have a spot like on the beach.
See, I like the beach idea too. So mine would be Sag Harbor. I love that little town. It's like on the island, middle of nowhere, Long Island, like small place.
You want to do the Hamptons? You're not a Hampton. You want
So I got a weird Hampton story. So like my grandparents, they grew up insanely poor, like bad poor. My grandmother, she would sew mattresses back in like the 40s and 50s, saved all this money up, and she bought 2 little beach cottages for like $30,000. And then that, like back then, that's not too bad for the Hamptons. So it was like the 60s. So we had beach house out there. And then my uncle built that place up, he started doing real estate there, and now it's like I can't even think about having a house there. Like the smallest house, like the size of this room, would be like $4 million.
Oh yeah,
Are you serious? Right now?
crazy. Yeah.
But I like the idea of the farm thing. I bought about 90 acres just south of here, about 2 hours south.
Oh really?
Right around COVID, yeah. Got it for a good deal, and it has not been touched since like for 100-something years.
Is
So,
it over the? Is it? It's not over the Bama border, is it?
it's almost.
Almost. Oh, so you're right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
know
what-
where you're at.
And what's cool about it is there's no address. It's just GPS coordinates. I'm like, yep, hell yeah.
That's what you want.
That's right.
You still have it?
Oh yeah.
You got deer on it?
Oh shit. Do I have deer? I have deer? I got turkey.
Bigfoot's probably running around out there.
Dude, it's crazy. I definitely walked up on an old still. Like it hasn't been touched forever. The town historian, he's funny. He's like works out of this like old jail in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you bought 1/5 of the town." I'm like, "What do you mean 1/5 of the town?" So I was talking to Quinn, drummer for Riley. I was like, "Hey man, this dude told me I bought 1/5 of this town." And he joked about me being the mayor of the place, like being funny. I was like, "Do you want to be the mayor of the town?" He goes, "Yeah." So-
Mayor Quinn.
Mayor Quinn, dude, can you imagine?
Dude, Quinn as mayor would be awesome.
He would be the best.
He would be the best.
He's like, "What's around there?" I was like, "Oh, I think there's like a small little town called West Point that's just north of there, ironically enough. That's north of there, that's got this hemp fest, and it's just like a bunch of like ancient hippies just get high on that river and on the river there." He goes, Oh, I'm down. I'll be the mayor. I'll mayor the hell out of that.
These are my people.
These are my people.
Hell
That's,
yeah.
that's funny stuff. But yeah, I think I want to try and build something on there at some point. Just as long as I got internet, that's all I really need.
Yes.
I keep working.
Yeah, that is important stuff, dude. Well,
I don't think I can stop working.
yeah, right. That's the bug. The bug bites you, and you can't stop. You can't stop working.
That's what keeps you young.
Yeah, like what does your day-to-day look like?
Shit, chaos. I mean, it's just busy. I don't even know how to even answer that. I mean, wake up, start with the 100-something emails to kind of filter through, and team meetings and planning. I mean, it's just every day. It's kind of tough though. The only thing that's tough is like still working out of the house, like having an office at the house, like just to save the money. I don't want to spend $5 to $10 grand a month on rent.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, but yeah, it's just a lot of conversation stuff, getting out there and just trying to get Ella's name out there, Wyatt's name, and just trying to build. That's all we're trying to do.
Well, dude, I'd say you're doing a pretty dang good job of doing that, man.
I
Like,
appreciate it. I can't do it without my guys, though. I mean, Bradley and Megan being on the Ella team, like, there's no way. Like, they are workhorses as well, and like I'm just gonna keep surrounding myself with folks like that, like people like you guys. Like, it only makes sense.
dude, that's what it's all about. We appreciate you coming on here, dude. And
Thanks.
you were saying you haven't done one of these, right?
No, never.
Well, dude, we're happy to pop the podcast cherry, and we'll have to do it again. Maybe do a workhorse special or something. I don't know. We'll do one in the future. We'll do another one. Maybe get you on a live pod that we do. We do those. We're getting ready to do some like industry based things with Peyton's pod with Behind The Music Biz. That we're looking to do like some like happy hour like social kind of stuff, networking events, and having folks that have a lot of years in the game like yourself and. Coaching people up, there's a lot of that.
That's what I see about you guys too. Like, not just because I'm sitting here, but I do think about this pretty often. Like, people like Nikki, you, Matt, like all you guys are like the new generation of the Ward from Whiskey Jam.
Yeah.
Which is also like Bradley.
Yeah, I call Ward the Godfather.
He is, and I was talking to Opry at this one point. I was like, it'd be cool. What if y'all did something where you have Opry members, but what if it was like industry people like Bradley Jordan and Ward? Like, this wouldn't be happening right now without those two dudes. Like, oh my God, like, I guess you might be right. That might be a thing. I said, I will make it my damn creed to try and figure out a way to get Bradley and Ward, at least Bradley, because of how close I am. I mean, Ward needs to be on there too, because he deserves it. But at least those two guys to get like in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Like they've done so much.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, country music wouldn't be the same without what those guys have done over the last decade and a half, 2 decades. Like, it's crazy.
There's a lot of people out there that deserve it too, but like those two, like always, like in my mind of like, they need to be like the first class. They're Hoffs, dude.
Ward's a celebrity in my eyes. When I first came to town, I saw Ward. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, what kind of watch is he wearing?
Yeah. Like, I saw Morgan Wallen at Losers, and I still wasn't even that shocked. I was just like, that's Ward.
Yeah, they do. That's the thing. Like those guys, I'm gonna keep beating them up, but like Ward and Bradley, they've got such an eye for A&R. They just know what's up.
Yeah.
So, and what a great platform to be on, like Peachtree stuff and Ward's Whiskey Jam thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Ray's Rowdy's right there, dude.
Yeah, we're trying, man. We appreciate being in that conversation, and we always say we're artist friendly. We like being a little silly with it, and like just being good members of the community. When you think of the folks that are out there paying for those 4-day camping passes at Country Concert in Fort Lauderdale, at Rock the South, at Rock the Country this year, at any of those big festivals, and you see those folks in the front row for the side stage, for the main stage, that's us. We're the guys at the side stage watching the Ella Langleys, watching the Wyatt McCubbins, watching the guys and girls on the come up, and we pride ourselves in that, dude. But where can people go to find you on the social medias?
Oh, Instagram, I guess, would be the James Vincent.
The James Vincent.
Just keep it simple, I
Yeah.
guess, right? I couldn't come up with some kind of crazy screen name. And then Workhorse, just Workhorse Artists.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's Instagram on there too.
Hell yeah, dude. Well,
I'm
man,
around.
Yeah, you are around.
Try
And
not to be. I hide sometimes.
yeah, and we gotta link up soon. The family's coming back in town, so we might have to link you up for a pasta dinner.
Dude.
For the
I think we're
gabagool.
doing for
That's
the
right.
penne alla vodka and chicken cutlets.
That's right. Antipasta, not charcuterie. Boy.
Yes, antipasta. Exactly. People don't fucking get it down here.
That's right. And it's not pasto either, dude. It's pasta.
It is
sorry.
pasta.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
This how
it
I
is.
say
It is antipasta. Yes, absolutely. Well, y'all be sure to check out our boy Jim Prisco, Workhorse. They're doing some great things, and we appreciate you so much for coming on, bro. Y'all be sure to check out our boy Peyton Heben with Behind the Music Biz, the first ever Raise Rowdy Suits podcast, as we're calling it. Getting all those suits on there. We just dropped episode 1 with Churro, right?
Yep.
And it comes out we're doing every Tuesday, right?
I think every Tuesday. 8 a.m.
Yeah,
Central
8
Time.
a.m. They're releasing every Tuesday. We're starting out on audio right now, but we're going to be getting the video kinks worked out and getting Peyton's pod up there. So I know a lot of folks from the music industry watch this stuff, and a lot of kids starting out. Some great nuggets of knowledge from our boy Jim, and you'll be able to find a lot of that kind of stuff on Behind the Music Biz with our boy Peyton Heben. Appreciate you guys and girls watching, listening. As always, you'll be sure to check out our friends from Whale Tail Media, Saxman Studios, and our boy Mitch Wallace with the Digital Marketing Agency. You want to know more about us, visit raisedrowdy.com. For my boy Jim, for my boy Peyton, I'm Matt Burrill. This has been Outside the Round.